Alright, haven't made a video in a while, so this one is going to be about installing a vintage air conditioning system into my 55 Chevy truck 2-ton wrecker. I got a few things that I have to straighten out first. A little bit of sheet metal work. I'm going to show a little bit of that. I'm sure there's a million videos out there about sheet metal work, but if you have a situation like mine where somebody hacked up the firewall, maybe it'll give you an idea on how to fix it. Okay, the problem I have here is when I got this truck, somebody had stuck a heater system in there, and the blower motor, they had it sticking out of this hole, and they put these 4 holes in to mount it. And then this one, I don't know what that was for, and they had the heater hoses coming out of these 2 holes. The original heater hose holes are right here and right here, and I need to use them, but I also need to put 2 holes in here and here. So I'm going to patch this. What I did was I cut this piece out right here out of some sheet metal I had from when I changed the cowl panel. I had saved this. I didn't know why, but I'm glad I did. And I just cut it where it would cover all the holes. And then I bent this little tab on here because there's a there's this bump here in the firewall, and this holes here I want to cover. So you can see where I outlined it in crayon. That sucker will go right there. So I'll cut that out and I'll weld that in. The other problem is there should be a OEM hole right here for mounting the heater, and they had drilled these holes in, like I said, for the heater hoses on the system they had in there. So again, I just cut this little patch panel out. Some sheet metal I had, it's just flat, no big deal. And that sucker will go right there. So I'll show you a couple other things. I have my assembly manual here, and this shows me where all the holes are. It really doesn't give me any measurements. Some of these I'm going to have to figure out on my own. And the other thing I did is I found this online, and it's just made a copy of it. It's what the firewall should look like. Help if it wasn't upside down. And then what I did is I drew where my holes are, where I'm going to cut out some of these holes that I put in here. I had a coil mounted here. I'm going to have to move that, so I'll have to fill those holes. That's what that is. So this is just a reference sheet for me to remind me what to do. When I cut out these holes here for my patches, I am just going to use a regular angled die grinder. I'd actually cut the patches out with this. Don't have a bandsaw, so if you got something like this and you don't have a bandsaw or a shear or whatever, you can just whack them out with this thing. And it doesn't look too bad. I do have a sandblaster, so I did sandblast them. But we'll see how this goes. There's a couple things I didn't mention there. Obviously I'm going to be welding and grinding. I don't want the sparks to get over the engine, so I got this big welding blanket there. And then on the inside as well, I have 2 welding blankets in here. I have one that runs right up underneath the holes, which I taped with a metal tape so that it protects this insulation from catching on fire or any of the wiring. Then I have another one here that I put on top that will hopefully keep anything from kicking out this way. And I think I am going to cover my seat up just in case with a moving pad or something. I don't have any more welding blankets. And then the other thing I didn't mention is I did like I said about the crayon where I marked this to go. You want to have about a 1/16 gap between your patch and then the firewall to give you some room to fill there. You don't want it tight because the metal will expand as it heats up. So when I cut it out, I will keep that in mind. I might try to cut it a little bit undersized. You can see I started here, cut it undersized, and then I can always grind it in. If you're too big, you're too big. I already have my patches made, so smaller is better right now. Okay, I'm going to start cutting that out. I'm wearing a face mask, some gloves. I cut this one out and I left too much room. I'm not going to bore you with all the grinding and cutting. When I get to the welding, I'll show you that. Okay, I know I said I wouldn't bore you with any more cutting, but I wanted to give everybody another option here. If you don't have the die grinder of any type, and you do have a saber saw, you can do this as well. This blade is a Bosch blade, and it's made for thin metals. So obviously the Firewall is thin metal, so I'm going to use this sucker to cut out the other hole. And like I said here, I got this welding blanket back here. You want to make sure it's back far enough so you're not whacking that with your blade as well. It appears I'm okay. I'm kind of liking the way this cuts better anyway. Okay, it's noisy, air plugs. Okay, the saber saw worked pretty good. It's noisy, but if you don't have a die grinder, you can definitely use one of these. Now I'm going to fit this thing and I'll be back. Okay, what I did here was the patches are in. I put a flashlight behind those so you can see the light coming through. I don't know how well you can see it, but I think I said earlier you need a 1/16 all the way around. At 30 seconds fine. What I ended up doing was I cleaned up the openings. I have a Dynabrade, it's a belt sander. I used that to clean it up. That worked pretty good. And I put a small disc here in my angle grinder here. If you don't have any of those, or a compressor, you can use a hand file. You know, the saber saw and the hand file will work fine. After I got the opening roughed pretty close, and I took the filler pieces and I ground them to fit the opening. That's why I left the opening small, and that way you can always make it bigger. If you're too big, then you're kind of stuck. So it was easier to grind these down. Next step will be to tack those suckers into place and weld them up. Okay, here's where we are now. Like I said, everything was fitted. Earlier I showed you I cleaned the paint off around where I'm going to weld, so we got good contact there. I got to fill these two holes and this hole here. I don't know why this one's here. I put those two in there for the coil like I said earlier. So I cleaned the paint off around there. The reason I was going to leave this one go, but I need to make it 1 1/4 inches, and there's only about 1/8 inch there, so when I drill it out, I'd be just kind of ripping into that hole. So I'm going to fill that, and if it doesn't work out, I guess I'll be putting a patch there. I have this welding spoon. The weld doesn't stick to it, and what you do is you back it up. For those of you who don't know, you back up your plug, the hole you're going to plug up with it, and then that keeps the weld from going through, and then you can just weld the hole up. And I'll do the same thing down here as well. I will fill that hole in, and then hopefully I'll be able to drill out the heater hose hole to 1 1/4 inches. on the inside. I'll show you that real quick. Cleaned everything up as well around the there and there around the holes, and then all the way around the openings that are going to get filled in. Hopefully I won't be doing too much welding in here. If I do a good job of tacking it on the outside, then here I'm going to obviously have to paint this again, and then paint the outside as well. Alright, I'm not going to bore you with me welding again, or welding all this, so I put this back in here with my magnet. And what I wanted to show you, when you weld something like this, you just don't want to tack it into place and then just start running a continuous weld, because it creates too much heat and then it'll warp the sheet metal because it's too thin. So what you want to do is, you know, tack it on the bottom and the top and the sides and get it kind of where you want it. You can get your holding magnet out of the way. Then you just want to work your way around, you know, work here, tack here, tack here. It's tedious, but it's the it'll give you the best finish when you're done. It won't be warped and everything will be welded. So that's the way I'm going to do it, and I'll show you after I have these two things welded in, as well as plug the holes. Alrighty. Okay, there's where the patches are in. The big saving grace is that the battery tray will go right here and here, so the tray will be like right here. This will all be hidden. Had a problem right here. The piece that I had bent is, you know, wasn't exact to this contour of the existing part of the firewall, and that kind of looks crappy, but the battery tray will go right over that. So I think I'll do a little bit of Bondo to it to make it look a little better, and then paint it. Okay, on the inside you can see the patches. I just knocked those welds down. You know, when you weld it comes through, and it, you know, you got to grind that down to make it flat. The case for the heating and AC unit will go flat up against that. So and then there's the 3 holes that I had to weld up, and then now I'll be able to drill the holes in I need for my air conditioning plumbing. So they'll both be going inside of here. There's an existing mounting hole that has to be drilled back in here, and another one over here somewhere. So that's why, you know, I wanted to make sure that I covered up that entire hole that was cut out. So that's that. Okay, here's the patches in with some Bondo on it. I had to fill in here. I had to enlarge these holes to 1.25 inches. They were inch. They were original. These are 2 that I had to add. And they were actually, you know, where the patch was. That's why I put the patch in. And as you can see, this one's a little jagged. The weld's running right along here and along here. So when I was drilling this with my step bit, when you weld the metal, it gets harder. And it kind of beat the heck out of my step bit, but I got them drilled in. Then I had to add this one and this one, which are for mounting mounting the air conditioning unit under the dash. This was an original one. Kind of took some photos I had and just kind of guesstimated where that goes. It's just for wiring to come through. So anyway, the grommet will cover up where this is jagged here from where the welds were, and that's not a big deal. But keep in mind, if you're going to be drilling where you welded, the metal is harder and it's going to be harder to drill. This one here was hard to drill, and it was just this little area here where the weld went through. So anyway, that's that. Now I'm going to spray it black again.